Welcome to the first module in the first section of recirculating aquaculture. Recirculating aquaculture systems. By the way, here's an important acronym. That's called RAS, R-A-S. So maybe you can RAS people now. Okay, so we're going to go to our first slide, which is here. Okay, so part of this introduction is to give you some reasoning and possibly why you should be excited about even thinking about studying this subject in the first place. And that is because of some of these statistics here. Okay, what are they? Seafood provides essential nutrition for over 1 billion people. 2, more than 37% of world fish production is traded internationally. 3, seafood is the most globally traded protein of all the commodities: beef, pork, chicken, lamb, etc., etc. It's the most highest volume of all those different commodities. Next, the value of the fish trade exceeds the international trade in all other animal proteins combined. 75% of our fishers are considered to be fully or overly exploited. Wow. That they're overexploited, yeah, that means they aren't there, and where's the fish going to come from to feed all these people? Okay, next point. More than 50% of all food fish supply comes from aquaculture. Wow, 50%. 50% of all the fish are coming from aquaculture at this point, as opposed to what we call wild catch, what you traditionally think of where seafood comes from. People going out boats and nets and things like that. But 50% of all of our seafood right now comes from aquaculture. When I started in this subject 30 years ago, that number was like 5%, so dramatically increasing. Aquaculture, it shouldn't be surprising then that aquaculture is the fastest growing food production system currently in existence. 8% annual growth. Okay. Are you excited? Hope so. Okay. So look, here's that statistic I showed you about where the seafood is coming from. Looking at here 2015, you can see about half of it is from aquaculture. There is some distinction people make between aquaculture product going into the food market versus fish products that go into the animal feeds market. So about a third or so of the wild catch goes into fish meal. Okay, so when you subtract that off, then the aquaculture component is actually more than 50% of the wild catch component. Okay, and then you see the little red line here going up. I forgot I have this cursor. I can show you. Ooh, going up and up and up and up and up. Right, we're going to have 7 or 8, 9 billion people by 2050, and we're going to have, right now we're at 6.5 billion. Just keeps going up. And as the economies improve, which they are worldwide, that means their ability to buy higher value products, i.e. proteins, meat proteins, also increases. Okay. Next slide. Okay. Well, what kind of seafood do we consume? Okay. And you look across the top here, here's dates, things haven't changed too much. Shrimp is number 1, and salmon and tuna and tilapia down here. So look, so I got these things numbered now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, here's something very interesting. Tilapia, in the mid-90s, this was 0. Okay, so tilapia has made huge inroads into supplying part of that seafood demand. The commodity products here in yellow represent aquaculture. Okay, so yeah, aquaculture. Boom. Okay. Future marine fisheries, well, they're in trouble. Marine fisheries, 25% of the world marine resources are overexploited. 30% of our migratory animals are under severe pressure. It's a problem, and it's kind of interesting. One thing is that the earth is 2/3 covered with water, but there's not much of that water that's actually productive for growing fish or supporting seafood life. So it's only a few hundred miles from each of the shores. So that's pretty much why we're at a steady state value in terms of what the oceans are producing. So about 90 million metric tons as a reference point. And now we produce about 90 million metric tons of seafood product. Okay. So here's where the gap, starts to be pretty evident. Our current world population is about 6.5 billion people. By 2050, 9 billion, which gives us what, a 84 billion pound gap in the need for seafood product. Where is that going to come from? Well, that's why you're taking the course, because we think, with good evidence, that is all going to come from aquaculture. And you're going to learn about recirculating aquaculture, because it conserves, it's the most sustainable form of aquaculture. Okay. Here shows you these supplies, what was happening. So the wild catch, wild catch. You see, it's you get different numbers here, but it's somewhere around 100 million metric tons, 90 million metric tons, and with good management, we think we might be higher, but this is probably an overestimate. Aquaculture keeps popping up, going up. Okay, and our percentage is above 50% at this point. Okay, so the per capita, the important number for you to realize is per capita consumption. That's at about worldwide, we think it's probably in the 17. This is kilograms, so it's about 17 or 38 pounds. This is per capita, and that's an interesting number in itself, because some countries, say for Japan, for example, might be 100 kilograms, per capita, and other countries might be two or three. My belief is that given a well-priced or competitively priced product against the other meats, people will choose seafood. And so anytime you see numbers that are less than 15 or 20 kilograms per person for that particular country, that means there's a lot of opportunity. Okay. Where are these fish going to come from? Well, relative to the U.S., we import almost all of our fish. Most of these fish the supply is going to come from low-income countries, where labor and environmental regulations tend to be less stringent. Environment is going to be a concern. Are these countries able to supply products to, call it, Western countries where environmental issues are of a concern, versus just simply price? And why is it that the U.S. can't compete? Well, maybe it's because our products cost too much. Okay. That wraps that one up, folks.